Well, welcome to Codevember, what is it, day 4, 2016. I only just moments ago kind of decided a vague plan of what I want to make today. So let's jump right in and get started. And, oh, hey there, quickly, welcome to the chat. So we have the single folder that's already an Elm package. I'm going to make a new folder for day 4. Start up our editor and run ElmLive. So before we start up ElmLive, let's make our new Elm file for day 4. And let's see. Yeah, we're going to be using the same render library that we've been using. And we'll import color. And our main is going to be a group. Let's start with a rectangle. 100, 100. Solid fill that with RGB some color. And then we convert it to an SVG. Alright, let's try starting this up. We'll load this up. Alright, and there's our square. Alright, so let's start out with a background color. I'm going to use a color picker today. And my favorite, hslpicker.com. Alright, I want kind of an off-white for our background. Maybe about there. Okay, let's copy this one. So color RGB 254, 255, 219. Alright, actually let's go a little bit lighter with this. 255, 255, 240. Sounds good. There we go. Okay, so for today, I want to do something with triangles. So let's make sure we can make a triangle first. Let's do an equilateral one. And let's see. Need to look up the docs for this render package again. And remind myself how to make a line, Polyline, okay, which takes a list of points. Polyline, and points are just tuples. So let's have 0, 0 is our first. Then let's say x is going to be 50 for the next. And then we want 25 and the height of this. So for an equilateral triangle, actually why don't we extract this and say size equals 50. This is going to be size. This will be size over 2. And this is going to be square root of 3 over 2 all times size. Okay, so then we have a line, and we need to convert it into a form. Great, so then we use solid for that. And let's, oh no, actually, I want this to be a filled-in triangle. Ah, right, so we want to use polygon, not polyline. polygon, and then our solid fill, let's just use some kind of blue right now. All right. So there's our little triangle. Great. So what I want to do is create rows of triangles, and each triangle we'll get to is going to have a random size. So let's make a function, triangle row, which is going to take a list of ints and convert that into a form. And those will be the sizes represented by ints. And I guess let's also extract this and just call this a triangle. And that can take a size as a parameter. Great. So for now, this will just be triangle. Well, okay, so let's just write this whole thing. So we're going to go from 0 to, let's say, 30, kind of going horizontally along the line. And for each one, we are going to take the index, create a triangle of some size, let's just use 50 for the moment, and then move it by some x amount, so let's use 50 for that, times I. And then we're going to put all these in a group. All right, let's test it out. All right, my second element, oh, I didn't pass it a list of things. And actually what we want to loop over is the sizes. All right, and what are we doing wrong here? It actually wants a float, so I'm going to convert this to a float. Okay. And, oh, right. Okay, so actually we do need to have an index. So I'll use indexed map for this. There we go. Okay, so we've got our row of 5 triangles for now. I also want other values to work. And let's try this out. So I want all these different sizes to work. So we're going to pass the size in here. So I guess size times 50. And triangle here takes a float and gives a form. And I'm actually going to pull this function out into a let. I'm just going to call it step for now. Okay. And I want to here to float the size. Cool. Then, also for the horizontal, I always want the horizontal position to be absolute, and only the Y position to be affected by the negative. Cool. Great, so that's what I want. then I also want to take the color as a parameter here. And we will pass that here. Cool. And then we're going to have another triangle row moved down, or up, I guess. I guess the coordinates were backwards from what I was expecting. So actually, why don't we move it by 80? A little less than that. 60. Cool. And we will do a few of these. And then we're going to take the whole thing and move it left by 250 and up by 250 also. Actually, we only want the triangle rows to move. And that's a little too far. There we go. Cool. So, let's go ahead and make this random and get some randomness in here. Okay, so we are going to, first of all, convert this into taking a list of lists for each of the rows. Then we are going to list.map. I guess we'll use an indexed map here also. I and sizes will become a triangle row with the sizes. Type to move 0 and I times 60, and then stick that in a group. And what is wrong with my type? I have to call toFloat on the index. And what else is wrong? Triangle row is expecting, sizes, spelled that wrong. Great, there we go. So we've refactored to pull out the data. So now, let's convert this to a random program. So our model is going to be a list of ints. View takes a model and gives us HTML. We need to import HTML. And we need to import html.app. Alright, so now we have our view. Now we need our new main, which is going to be a program that takes no flags. And in it is going to be just an empty list. And we need commands. Our subscription is going to be no subscriptions. And our update function is going to be update. Actually, we can just write this inline. We're not really going to have a message type. We'll just pass a new model or whenever we generate something. And then our view is our view function. And I need an arrow here. Cool. All right, let's refresh this. Great, so it still works. Now what we want to show here is our model. And now what we want to trigger off in our initialize is random.generate and we'll create a data generator. I guess I'll call it model generator. And we need to import random, and we need to define our model generator, which is going to be a random generator of model. Then this is going to be a random.list of random.extra.constant for the moment, 1, 2, 0, -1. And we have to tell how many items in the list. So we're going to make 3 rows. And we're also going to import random.extra, which we installed in day 1 of Codevember. Cool. So there are our 3 rows. We can see we can change this here. Change it to 5, we get 5. Great. Okay, so that's all hooked up. So now we want to generate random lists each time. So rather than this constant list, let's generate a random row, and we'll define that in a let block. Okay, so rather than this, we are going to make a new list with, let's say, 6 elements in it. And for the moment, let's just put a constant in, so we can kind of do this incrementally. Okay, so we get 6 triangles. Now, we want to get a random int between -2 and 2. Cool. There we have it. Okay. So let's actually generate 5 of these rows. Well, 4. I don't want this getting too busy. So the next thing I want to do, well, actually I want to adjust this positioning a little bit. It'd be nice if we could actually make this center itself on the screen, which we could do fairly easily, probably. Cool. Okay, so what I want to do next is set random colors, but I also want to grab colors from an outside source. So ColourLovers is this fun little website that has colors on it. And they have a nice little API for getting palettes. And let's set it to use the top rated, most popular palettes. And let's see, I think, yeah, in here there's a format, so we can get this as JSON. And a nice thing about this is this API is totally public. You don't have to authenticate or create a developer account or anything. So, all right, I guess we need to do a small refactoring before we stick this in. Our model is not just going to be a list of lists. It's going to be a palette, which will be a list of colors, and then we're going to have our triangle data, which will be the list of ints. Then we'll have to refactor this, so we're using triangle data here. Then our model generator, this is really just going to generate triangle data, not full models. And then our initial model is going to have palette is an empty list, And triangle data is also an empty list to start with. And I wish this tooltip would go away. Our update function is going to change. So we are going to have two different messages now. Type message is either going to be new triangle data with a list of int, or it's going to be new palette, which will be a list of color. And let's write our update function out here. Update will take a message and a model and give back a new model and command. Case message of, if we get a new palette, then we will return our model with the palette changed to the new one with no command. And if we get new triangle data, then we will do basically the same thing, but changing the triangle data to the new data with no command. Colors. Got it. Hey Proton, welcome to the stream. How are you doing today? All right. Okay, so I've messed up my program, expecting update to be a list. Let's see, update should take a message. Okay. So here, our generate message, we are generating new triangle data in that case. Great. So we've refactored. Everything still works. So now we want to stick in an HTTP command to grab, actually, why don't we just use their random API rather than their top API. And this is format equals JSON. And cool, this just pulls back one single thing. So we are going to do an HTTP request to this endpoint. And I forget exactly how to do it with this version of Elm. So I use Elm 0.16 at work, 0.17 on the stream, and I've been working on Elm 0.18 with Elm format. All right, so we're going to do an HTTP GET. And we give it the decoder directly, the URL, and we get back a task. All right. So when we start up, we're actually going to do two things. We're going to do command.batch, and the one thing we're going to do is generate a random number, and the other thing we're going to do is http.get that with a palette decoder, and then we get a task, so then we have to task.perform it. And in the case of an error, we're just going to do, well, I guess in the case of error, we'll say always new palette with nothing. And in the case of success, we will do a new palette with whatever is decoded. And we need to import HTTP. I think we also need to install the HTTP package. Yep. So let's install this. Elm package install. And then start up ElmLive again. Then we also need to import task. And then we need to define our decoder. Is a JSON decoder of a list of color. And we're also going to need to import json.decode. Okay, so let's look at the JSON structure here for the random one that we're using. So it looks like we get a list. Then we have an object. Then we have colors. And then we have the list of hex values. So first, let's see if we have a way in Elm to convert hex to a color. I hope so. Grayscale to RGB, nothing in here. So let's see if there's a color extras package. Elm color extras. So what do we have in here? Hex to color. Great. That is perfect. So we're going to need this package. Let's get that installed. Great. Then, let's see, where were we? Didn't I have the JSON package up? Oh, I guess I didn't open that. Okay. So what I want to look for in here is there a way to get the first item out of a list? And that would be, here we go, tuple 1. Perfect. So what does this do? It takes a function. I'm not sure what we need that for. So we're going to use a tuple 1 with the identity function, and then a decoder that can decode the colors out of the value. So then we have an object, and we want to use the @decoder dot colors is the field, and then the decoder for that is going to be a list of strings string. Okay, did I spell this wrong? Oh no, okay, it was just slow to build. Cool, so we got close, except we get a list of strings out rather than a list of colors. So actually what I want to do here is map it against this function from color.convert. So let's pull in this package, or import it, excuse me, color.convert. And this string, we're going to json.decode.map with color.convert.hex to color. And that's good, except that if it doesn't parse, interesting. We get a list of maybe colors out, and we want just a list of colors. So I think what I'll do is map over this list and rip out any that don't have values. I'm not sure if that quite made sense, but here's how I'm going to do it. json.decode.map, and what we're transforming is a list of maybe colors into a list of colors, so we can use list.filter map identity for that. So I guess that it was kind of a bit of gymnastics there. I'm not going to explain it in detail today. I'll save that for one of the normal ElmLive episodes on Sundays. But we got something working. Apologies if you weren't able to follow all of that. Cool. So let's start this up again. And let's, in here, put a debug.log and see if we're getting any updates with the response from the server. Uh-oh. No access control allow origin is present. Oh no. Shoot. Well, I forgot about cores with this. So unfortunately, I guess we may not be able to use that API, which is unfortunate. What I am going to do is save this file. Let's go ahead and grab it. Alright, so we've got random format JSON. I'll call this colors.json. Okay, so we have the JSON there. Actually, let's check the API really quick and see if they have anything about cores in here. Looks like no. Shoot, that's unfortunate. Okay, so we have the color.json. I am going to use this local HTTP server and start this up on port 8001. And let's see if we can grab it. Localhost 8001 /color.json. Okay, and there's the JSON. So for now, let's use this as our URL. Oh, interesting. I misinterpreted what that error was saying. So we actually can't access that anyway. All right, well, let's do some quick research on cores. Proton, if you have any quick ideas of how to resolve this, let me know. So let's see. The problem is that Chrome doesn't want this site talking to it. So then when the response, okay, so does this HTTP server node cores, is there just a command line option we can use here to allow cores? Let's see. I'm going to kill this and see if there's a help. Enable cores. Great. Okay. So let's start that with cores. Then see if we can reload this. Hey, great. Okay, got it. Unfortunately, this won't hit the live ColourLovers API, but we did get the data we wanted from this JSON file that's being served by another HTTP server we're running locally. So that'll be good enough to get this code written. So we have now in our model our new palette. So what I'd like to do is when we go through the row, use that palette. So let's put it here. And then we will pass it here, model.palette. And then we will use the length of it. So we'll say color is going to equal list.drop, and we'll take an I for this. I mod list.length of the palette, and then we'll take from. So we're going to take the palette, drop the first, we're going to rotate through, dropping more each time, and then we will take list.head, and then we will maybe.width default color.black. So that'll be our color, and we will use that here. Interesting. So what happened? Oh, I think I know what happened. Oh, well, there we go. So we can't mod by 0, so we say if I equals 0, then color.black, else that. If list.length of the palette equals 0, then color.black. Cool. So there are our colors. I'd actually like those to get mixed up a bit more. That's actually a good set of colors. Okay. So the other thing I'd like to do is we're going to have type alias triangle is going to be a record, which takes a size, which is an int, and a color, which will also be an int. And I want to change this to be a triangle. So our triangle data will be a list of triangles. And in our model, well, where did our model go? Up here. This is also a list of triangles. And then here, this is a list of triangles. Then the sizes. Okay, this is going to be triangles. Then here we're going to get the size and the color, both. And what else is wrong? We want to call this choose color. The names were overlapping. And then generate our model generator, which is up here. This is getting to be a little bit of a mess. What we want is, rather than generating the size, this is random size equals that. What we want to do is do a random.map2 to make a triangle with a random size and a random color, which is going to be an int from 0 to 50. And we'll use that as an index into the list of colors for our palette. So here, rather than passing I to choose color, we are going to pass the color. There we go. So that's mixed things up a bit. Whoops. Cool. So there we go. Unfortunately, we couldn't get this to do exactly what I wanted because I wanted to go live to the ColourLovers server. But for that to work, we would have to set up a CORS proxy for this JSON endpoint, which I think is really unfortunate. But in any case, we got built what I was hoping to, so thanks for tuning in. I will see you all tomorrow for day 5 of Codevember. See you then.